I'm gonna be talking about horror books in this video while wearing a cute Hello Kitty sweater. The duality of woman, I guess. Hi, hello, welcome back to the horror shelf. My name is Donata and today I'll be telling you all about the books I've read in July. And in July I only read horror books actually. This month I went on a holiday. I read 3 books in total this month and I DNF'd 1 book. I'm not quite sure if I should try again maybe because it's a very popular book, but it was too weird for me, which is crazy to say. We'll get into it. We'll get into it later. I'm just gonna start with the book that I read first this month, which was The Damnation game by Clive Barker. I have the Dutch copy here, but I read it in English on my e-reader. I know that sounds crazy when I have the physical copy in my hands, but I like to read on my way to work and I travel to work by bus. And if I have to bring like a big hefty book in my work bag, it's just quite uncomfortable and my bag is full and heavy and I don't like that. So if I have a really big book like this, I like to read it on my e-reader, and then I also have the physical copy because I collect books. But yeah, I read it in English on my e-reader, which is also kind of a life hack if you are intimidated by thick, chunky books. Read them on your e-reader. Turn off the page count or don't, and then you can physically see how big the book is, so it feels less intimidating to like continue reading it, if that makes sense. It works for me. Just sharing my life hacks here. But The Damnation game by Clive Barker. I really like Clive Barker. I've read how many books? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've read the Books of Blood, all of them. I read Imagica and I read The Hellbound Heart. I wanted to read this one as well because I bought 4 of his books on Vinted. I bought 4 of them in one go and I had to read them, you know. So I thought, why not read The Damnation game now? This is actually the first book he wrote that is like a full-length novella. Before that he wrote short stories and this is like his first big full-length book. When I looked up reviews of this, they were saying like, you can tell that it's his first one, which I do agree with. It has some flaws. Don't get me wrong, but however, I really loved this book. I read it so quickly. It was living in my head rent-free. Like, I was thinking about this book all the time. It was really good, actually. It was really good. At some points, I started to wonder, like, what is the point of this story? But nevertheless, I really enjoyed it. It was really nice. Let me just summarize this book really quickly. In this book, we follow Marty Strauss. Marty, I don't fucking know. And he's in prison. And then this really old rich guy wants to hire a prisoner to be his personal bodyguard. And he also interviews Marty. And Marty used to be a kickboxer. So this rich old man, his name is Whitehead, Joseph Whitehead. He's like, you're the perfect candidate because my other bodyguard used to be a boxer too. So I want you. So Marty gets hired and he starts living in this big ass mansion where Whitehead also lives, and he's like a live-in bodyguard. So he has to work and then he does his own things around the house. And this Whitehead, he organizes these really big parties and meetings, and yeah, so Marty's just living there and working for Whitehead, and then he starts noticing that Whitehead is a really paranoid man. Yeah, weird things start happening. He meets Whitehead's daughter as well, and it turns out that Joseph kind of made a deal with the devil in a way. And I'm not gonna tell you more because then I would spoil the book. But it's kind of crazy. It gets gory. It gets really quite gory. One thing to know though, if you can't read about animal abuse, animals getting harmed, animals dying, maybe don't read this one because there's a lot of dogs dying in this book. Like a lot. And they are not dying peacefully, if you know what I mean. So that was kind of nauseating. That was kind of nasty. I had a hard time getting through those parts, but other than that, this book was so good. And also the characters, especially Marty, but other characters as well, I felt they were really well-rounded. It made sense why they acted the way that they did. They felt real. They felt like real people. And despite it being like a fantasy-ish, well, not fantasy, despite it being a horror story, I guess horror is fantasy in a way. And they felt like real people. And I really enjoyed this. I also liked that the story took place in like this big mansion and how Marty was dealing with being a prisoner and then still being a prisoner while working for Whitehead because, you know, he had to be on this He could only leave the mansion when Whitehead allowed him to. Other than that, he had to stay there. So he was kind of out of prison, but then put back into prison sort of a way. And this whole deal with the devil trope was also really interesting. It might sound cliche, but he did it really well. And yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. So Clive Barker did it again for me. Next up is my most anticipated read of this year, which has actually been out for almost a year as well, but I couldn't get my hands on it in the Netherlands, at least not in paperback version. I'm one of those people who doesn't like hardcovers. I'm sorry. There's a dog barking outside really loudly. That's funny because I just talked about dogs in the Clive Barker book. Anyway, I wanted to get this book in paperback version and I couldn't get it in the Netherlands, so I had to wait for half a year or something. But I finally got it. It's The Queen by Nick Cutter. I love Nick Cutter. This is the 3rd book I read of him. I read The Troop and I read The Deep, and I absolutely love both of those books, like the basic horror bitch that I am. And now I also love The Queen. It was so much fun. Again, this book totally ruined wasps for me, as if they weren't already scary enough. Now they're even more scary. If you have ever read anything by Nick Cutter, you know his writing style and you know the topics that he takes on and the body horror, I guess, how he writes body horror, that style. You get exactly that in this book, but make it about 2 teenage girls, like coming of age best friends, add a shit ton of wasps in there. And then a whole lot of body horror and zombies-ish things. And also Frankenstein. That's this book. That's how I would describe this book. I loved it so much. I think I gave it 5 stars. Or did I not? No, I think I gave it 4 stars because the ending was kind of meh. The very, very last part that was not really part of the story anymore, but was put in there for some reason. Other than that, he did it again. I love Nick Cutter. So, to summarize this book without spoiling anything, in this book you follow Margaret. She's in high school and her best friend went missing and everyone thought she died. And then one day Margaret receives an iPhone in the mail and it's from her best friend that's supposed to be dead that's now texting her. She made up kind of like a little game with tasks. So I don't know, she gets like, you have to go to this location and do this and that, and then you get the next clue and then go to that location, and that's how she's telling her story. So Margaret is following all those steps. Something has happened to her best friend that I can't tell you about because it would spoil the book. But I can say one thing: wasps. And that's not a spoiler because there's a wasp on the cover. And also, when you open the book, it has wasps on the inside. So I'm not spoiling anything. Just know that there's a lot of wasps. And if you don't like insects, maybe skip this one. Because there's a lot of creepy crawly body horror going on. I really enjoyed the bad guy in this book. Because he had like an insect kink and a lot of trauma around insects. And his whole backstory was so insane. It had me Googling the insects that he was talking about. It was like, is this even a real possibility? So I was like Googling. It was so much fun. It's also really nasty. There's some scenes in here that make me feel a little bit queasy. That's always the case for me with the Nick Cutter books. The Troop was actually the first horror book that I ever read. And I still remember how I felt reading it. I'm thinking of doing like a full spoiler review of The Queen. I have so much to say about this book. It's crazy. How did he come up with this stuff? How does this man's brain work? But I love how it works. And I really like this book. And I am excited for what else he's gonna write. It's only the ending wasn't for me. And Nick Cutter, if you're watching this, you know what I mean with the ending. Why did you do that? Why? That's the only thing about this book I didn't really like. I'm sorry. The book that I DNF'd is Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh. Lapvona? Ottessa Moshfegh, the book with the sheep on the cover. I had this on my want to read list for a long time because it just sounded really interesting and I like a disturbing book. So I got it for my e-reader for on holiday and I started reading it and it's just so incredibly bleak, I couldn't do it. And the characters, they were so bleak, and all the bad things they did, okay, no, wait. First of all, so Lapvona is about this medieval village where you follow this boy who is disabled in a sense, and his abusive father, and then this woman that's the wet nurse of the village. That's how far I got those three characters. And they act in disturbing ways. Let's just put it that way. And there's a lot of things mentioned in this book, like the R word, grown men drinking breast milk straight from the titty. And everything is just nasty because it's medieval times. They are really, really, really religious. So all the bad things they are excusing in the name of God. They're like, Jesus, the Lord is giving me this pain, so this pain is good, and blah blah. And it was just so incredibly, I don't know how else to put it except for bleak. It just made me feel like I was in a winter depression or something, which is not the feeling that I want from reading a book. I mean, it did make me feel something, because I guess that's good, but I couldn't do it. And I was on holiday as well when I was reading it. So maybe that had to do something with it too, that I was like, I don't want to read this at the beach. Like, The Queen was fine to read at the beach. It kind of felt like a summer horror anyway. And that says a lot. If I can't do a book, that says a lot. Maybe it was just the writing style that was off-putting to me as well. And the thing that was also off-putting to me was these characters, they were all like unlikable and kind of disturbing, and they were doing all these weird things. But I was just wondering, like, what's the point of this story? Where are we going? I literally couldn't find the point of the story. And that also, like, didn't help with me not liking the book at all, because I was like, I'm not feeling great while reading this, and I also don't know what the point is of the story, so why should I continue? I guess this is a book that you either hate or love. And I don't hate it. It's just, maybe it was just because I was at the beach and it's just not a book for at the beach. So maybe I should try again. Let me know. I am open to trying it again. I guess I still have it on my e-reader, but I know which page I left it on. I think I was like 20% in or something. I have a feeling it won't get better. Sorry, Ottessa. Not that you're watching this, but I'm sorry. I will try again another time. Is it worth it? I don't know. And then the last book I read, which was a five-star read, and I don't have a physical copy of it, but that was The Haar by David Sodergren. Am I saying that correctly? The Haar? How would I describe this book? Sea monster love story with a Scottish accent. It was fantastic. It made me sad. It made me happy. It made me disturbed. Everything. It was great. In The Haar, you follow this old lady, Muriel. I cannot pronounce her name. We're just gonna call her Mumu. In this book, you follow Mumu. And Mumu is 84 years old or something, and her husband died 12 years ago. And she lives in this Scottish seaside town with typical Scottish weather, and how her house is described is so really cute. And it's this cute granny that's really nice, and she's like a bit spicy, like feisty, sarcastic old lady, and she's really nostalgic. She's always like thinking back about the past and the great time she had in that house, and how much she loved her husband, how much she misses her husband, stuff like that. And then suddenly there's this rich guy who wants to buy all the land, and he wants to destroy all their houses. So she and the other people that live in that town, they're trying to fight him. No, don't destroy our houses, and obviously they're not winning the fight because they're all old, and this is a really like rich billionaire dude that's evil. And then Mumu, one day at the beach, she finds this blob, and this blob is a sea monster essentially, and she saves his life, and then they kind of become friends, and it's so freaking adorable. It's so adorable. And this blob, it can like shapeshift. It was so sad, but it was so cute at the same time. And nasty as well. There's a lot of body horror in here that's just gross. It's really gross, but just the main character, Mumu, I loved her. I loved her so much. I think maybe this is the first time I have ever loved a book character this much, because she was adorable. Oh, and I felt for her so much. Just like trying to save her house. And David Sodergren, I need you to know that this was the first book I read by you, and I will in fact read all of your other books now, because I loved the Haar. It was just not on my cards to like a sea monster love story this much. Was it even a love story? Not really. A story of friendship. A horror story of friendship and cuteness and body horror. And the Scottish accent all wrapped together with a cute granny as a main character. It was amazing. I love this book so much. I don't have a physical copy of it, but I need it. I'm gonna buy it. I need it. And also the cover is so cool. This is so cool. That's some cool art. And I noticed all the books by David Sodergren have really cool covers. So I'm excited to try more of his books and own them, hopefully. The Haar was amazing. 5-star read. I enjoyed it so much. It made me feel all the feelings. I was reading this in a plane going home from holiday. And I was like trying to find back the tears, because I was like, this is so sad and so cute. I was like, trying not to cry on the plane. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. It is a little bit silly though. It's like non-serious horror, but that's good. That's we don't always need serious horror. Those are all the books I read and DNF'd, I guess, this month. I had a great time. I read like 3 bangers. 3 out of the, like, I read, except for Lapvona, all the other books I read were bangers. I loved all of them. So it was a really great month. That's nice. I hope the next month will also be good. I haven't started a new book yet. I'm thinking of reading Hannibal. I have it on my e-reader as well as on my shelf. Like, I have the physical copy too, so... But that's a big book as well, and I already know the story. But I need to read it, because it has been on my shelf for so long. I should read it by now, you know? Like, 3 or 4 years, that's too long to not have read a book. Maybe. Is it? I don't know. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have read any of these books, or if you are gonna read any of these books after this video, let me know. That would be fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.